My name is John Fuller. I'm a Crescio 432, and I sit at St. John's table.
You're attending Mass here.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I attend Mass at Gibson. It's a Chapel of the Blessed Sacrament. The title for tonight is Discipline, and coming on the back of that, I should have correctly titled it as Catholic extremists. You know, we hear a lot about Muslim extremists, so I'm radicalizing y'all, okay? I'm trying to engender that in y'all tonight, to stir it up. Okay, personal reaction to God's discipline forces only two choices: obedience or disobedience, i.e. rebellion, okay? So disobedience, in my mind, is rebellion. Thus, man's interaction with God always engenders action from man, right? Wow, that's a profound statement. Goodness gracious, how did he come up with that? Well, it had to do with church, sitting in a church pew and watching a young boy. But before we go to the young boy, we got to talk about my background a little bit. I grew up in a military family. My father was a colonel in the Marine Corps, retired out as an 06. My father went to Vietnam. My father also took part in something called Mayaguez. At Mayaguez, my dad was decorated for bravery. My father was raised by a Marine. That Marine fought in World War II. The Marine was slashed in the back by a samurai sword. Okay. So, for me and my brother growing up, we always understood that there was a crucible that we had to go through. Yeah? Combat. We didn't know how that was going to be accomplished. For me in 1999, there wasn't no war on terror. Oh no, my dad had Vietnam, my grandfather had World War II, I got nothing. But nonetheless, I'm preparing, and I decide, 18 years old, it's time for me to enlist. Can I go into the Marines? Absolutely not. Marine Corps is not big enough for the both of us. Where do I need to go? The Army. Yeah. I go down there and I negotiate and I get myself a Ranger contract. Oh, terribly excited. If I'm going to see combat, it's going to be with these guys. Next thing you know, a year's gone by. I've passed through infantry basic training at Fort Benning. I've also gone to airborne school at Fort Benning. I've graduated both of these schools. Now I'm in a third school called Ranger Indoctrination Program, but they use the moniker RIP. I'm in RIP. I'm waiting. I'm standby. They tell me, oh, a lot of y'all aren't going to make it. I begin looking around at the different classes, and I think to myself, wow, it's different here. They're treating us differently. Say, prior to RIP, the Army wanted to keep you. The Army hadn't fulfilled its contract with you yet, so technically if you were to get injured or hurt, you could kind of get out of the Army. But once you get to RIP, you're done. You're going somewhere because you're qualified. It may not be the Ranger Battalion. When we show up the first day, we have 3 E5s. All 3 are tabbed in Ranger Battalion. They're our instructors, okay, cadre. They let us know right at the beginning, we don't want you in battalion, and we're going to do everything we can do to keep you out. Yeah. In week number 2, we go to a place called Cole Range. 124 begin. Yeah. We go to Cole Range, week number 2. We probably got about 119. When they begin Cole Range, we're told it's going to be kind of like a smoke fest. Hey, very difficult. And it was difficult. We had about an hour and a half of sleep a night. We were required to do forced marches. Forced marches are very intense. Most people that have never experienced forced marches and know nothing about the intensity. My first experience of the hardship that they were offering me was when I was on a ruck march that was forced, and a man that I had looked up to since basic training sat down on the side of the road. His name was Kelly. He was 32. He was the old man. I have to walk by Kelly because he's not moving. And I'm trying to encourage Kelly. Get up! Get up! Don't stay there! Once the truck gets to you, you're going to have to get on and you'll be done. I've listened to this guy for a year tell me how excited he is about going into Ranger Battalion. He got motivated after a divorce, and this is what he has in his mindset. He's got to be in battalion. And yet he's sitting on the ground. And in my heart, there was a tug. It was to sit down on the ground in camaraderie with this man that I cared for. In a brotherly sense, loved. And then all of a sudden I realized, if I sit down with him, I'm a traitor and I'm a quitter and I'm rebellious. And oh, by the way, I got a date with destiny. My baptism of fire is on the horizon. If he don't want to go, to heck with him. In World War II, when they would do forced marches, mainly in the Pacific Theater, when a man would fall out because he was wounded or too ill to go on, they would shoot him. That was the nice thing to do. So I was experiencing what would happen in combat. It was hard. I remember my feet bleeding. I remember midnight runs to the wood line. I remember how important it was to get there in the top 10%, but not be number 1 or 2. Those guys had too much motivation. And the cadre hated people with too much motivation. Yeah. You didn't want to be in the last 10% either, because they hated them more. When we're standing out there in formation after our run to the wood lines, we were often told to pick up our rucksacks and hold them over our heads. Our rucksacks had 32 pounds in them. As we were holding them over our heads and the intense pain was beginning to encroach on us, they would begin to tell us, "Oh, don't," I'm going to use an appropriate rude word, "screw your buddy. Don't screw your buddy. Don't be a buddy screwer. Somebody out here is going to quit." Everybody could put their rucksacks down if that man would just step forward and quit. We got a cot in the back, and we got food, as many MREs as you want to eat. Oh, by the way, there's some water. And look, don't F your buddy. Okay? As that's happening, eventually, someone decides to quit. And sure enough, they're true to their word. We get to put our rucksacks down, get a momentary break. Oh, that's terrible. Pick up your weapons. Hold them out in front of you. Woo! Who's going to be the man? Come on. We got another buddy effer out there. Pretty soon, another run to the wood line. Yeah. Let's fast forward to the end of the week. Week and a half. I'm marching my way to the Ranger graduation. Yeah. I'm in formation with the other men. We have 24 men left. It was hell, but I was there. And that's all that mattered. We're taking a right in front of the Iron Mike statue, the 3rd ID headquarters. There's this place that it looks kind of like, I don't know, 3 or 4 different large pieces of granite. And that's called the Ranger Memorial. We're heading to the Ranger Memorial. We're in what they call spits and starches. So we're in our woodland camo uniforms. Our boots are shiny. We're wearing our soft caps, our PCs. Okay? But we have our black berets. This was before the Army's transition. We've got our black berets in our left pocket, ready to don the beret. Okay? And as we're marching, somewhere up, one of the Ranger instructors yells at a man, and I don't remember his name, but I'm going to just use the word Zimmerman. He yells, "Zimmerman, fall out!" Now, I don't know what just happened. I'm not exactly sure what Zimmerman did. I don't know if he reached down to get his beret. I don't know if he didn't stay in step. I'm not sure if he glanced his eyes to the right or to the left, but something he did disqualified him. Yeah. Now, for the rest of his life, he's going to remember how close he got. But you know what? It doesn't matter. Why? Because he knew what he was doing. Yeah. Now, that's discipline. Yeah? That's military-style discipline. And military-style discipline is tremendously important because it's not about Ranger School. It's not about going through RIP. It's not even about airborne school. It's about the day when you're storming the beachhead. Are you going to kill your buddy by accidentally shooting him in the back? Will you remember to bring your ammo? Will you remember to take your weapon from safe to semi and shoot effectively for center of mass? Will you waste rounds indiscriminately? Will you lose your mind and get on your knees and cry? That's what it's really about. They're turning you into a person that can deal with stressful circumstances effectively, to close with and destroy the enemy, period. Nothing else. Okay? So really, what are they doing? In a fatherly sense, in a loving sense, they're preparing you for the crucible. They're preparing you to be battle tested. Oh, wonderful. Now, this is contrasted by another story. Okay? This is a story and I'm going to assume it's a 10-year-old boy. And I have to get so specific in the details that I would ask you all not to repeat this out of this room. It's for edifying, not for gossip. Okay? I come to 2 masses on Sunday. Why? Because we have a wonderful priest who offers 2 beautiful masses. But that's not the real reason. The real reason is I don't want to burn in hell for all eternity. And I struggle with a very specific thing that I'm trying to get over. I decided 2 months ago in my heart, you know, kid, it's hard to fast and do crawfishing. You know, kid, it's hard to get to anything else on Thursday besides Altrea. You know, kid, maybe in mortification, you should try going to the second Mass. Yeah, you know how long those thoughts lasted? Until I was like, well, I could be at Paul Gill's eating free lunch. Or I could be at Mr. Bruce's playing Axis and Allies. Now, 2 months goes by, I do nothing. Okay? I'm still struggling. Remember, I'm trying to grow in my Christian walk. I desire heaven because I don't want to burn in hell. I come to Father, I'm talking to Father. Father mentions to me, hey, have you tried a growth group, a spiritual group? I said, oh, no, but probably I can't do it, you know. Father says, but you're always off on Sundays. Yeah, well, what time is it? Oh, it's after the second Mass. Oh, wonderful. Second Mass. Well, here we go. Now, as I'm attending the second Mass, and my knee's hurting, right knee, I'm thinking how wonderful it is to be at the second Mass with my hurting knee that I've chosen the battlefield, right? Indiscriminately, I don't want to get into a fight that I'm going to lose. But when I can choose my fighting grounds and I can choose how to mortify my flesh, it makes me so much stronger. And I say on a battlefield that I can win, right? And as I'm back in the back, I sit 3 rows from the back because I can remember my spot. Okay? I notice a young lad, probably 10 rows in front of me. This kid's probably 10 years old. Maybe 11, maybe 9. Let's say 10. He likes to get up and go to the bathroom. And his dad takes him. He likes to do it multiple times. And this last Sunday, it was 3 attempts, 2 successful tries. But not only is it to go to the bathroom, but he likes to run around and, you know, maneuver. And when it's all said and done and you think the mom is about to discipline him, you know what happens? She grabs him and holds him and squeezes him and puts the 10-year-old boy on her lap. And I'm thinking, goodness gracious, doesn't she know better? 5 or 6 years ago, he should have quit sitting on her lap. And here's the worst part. They're coming here to Mass. They're good Catholics. Why else would they be coming to his Mass, his high Mass? It's a long Mass. It's for the intense people. And they don't know any better? And really, is it the 10-year-old's fault? Is he steeped in rebellion? Now wait. To be in rebellion, you have to willingly choose to rebel. You have to be disobedient. If the young boy has never been taught that it's wrong to go to the bathroom when you don't need to, then is he really in rebellion? Okay, so let's get back to the topic here. The violence of action. I was taught this by the Army. So, and remember, I'm coming at it from a perspective of a mindset that's about 75 years old. Okay? My grandfather, he fought in the Pacific, not Europe. Europe was easy compared to the Pacific. What the Marines had to go through was very bad. You read anything about it, it was bad. It was war. Okay? The violence of action. What is this? What is this? When you're in doubt, in war, do something. So, for instance, I don't know about that guy. Well, you should shoot him. Well, I'm out of bullets. Throw a hand grenade. What about this door? Knock it in. I'm scared to go up to that door because we're getting fired. Shoot it with a tank. Call in some artillery fire. Okay? When it's all said and done and you're taking a crap and they come and they knock on the door and you don't know who it is. Hey, who is it outside? Is it the enemy? No. Just stab the person. Right? And if you don't have your knife with you, you got your E-tool because you're taking a crap. And what do? You kill the man with your E-tool. The violence of action mindset. And it's interesting because now I'm going to tie all this back in with spirituality. And there's no way you can do that. Yeah, there is. Okay? 1 Samuel 15:23. For rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness as iniquity and idolatry. So, in the Bible, we know that women are always witches, right? Now, how do you know that? Well, the witch of Endor, she was a woman. Now, why is this important? Because remember rebellion up here? And we talked about it, and I said disobedience, or you can call it rebellion. That is rebellion, right? Where's the first time we ever see in this world rebellion practiced? It's practiced by the woman. Thus, everything that follows that, rebellion is always in the feminine. Now, when that little boy was acting out, and the man was going to take him to the bathroom the third time, and the woman looked up at the man and shook her head like this. Well, it was because father was almost at the rail. I mean, the mass was over. There was no point in going to the bathroom at that. Okay. But at the end of the day, it's that nature of that woman that is driving that union. Yeah? That man does not understand his place as the head. And because he doesn't understand the place, he's never disseminated the information to the boy. The boy doesn't know about obedience. He doesn't know what's appropriate or not appropriate. It's terrible. Now, this is with us. Yeah? This isn't the outside world. You know, it's easy for us to see how the outside world has gotten as messed up as it is. Okay? Now, let's go back to rebellion. So we know it's effeminate. So whenever you're practicing rebellion in the direct form, you're rebelling against the Word of God, you're rebelling against anything that the church teaches, you're rebelling against someone that's in authority over you. It's always in the effeminate. Yeah? Now, it gets more interesting than that. And stubbornness. Remember, I said that there was only obedience and disobedience. There is only black and white. There is no gray area. But you say, well, I'm just not going to do anything. I'm just going to come to Mass, and I'm not going to talk about the problems, and I'm not going to watch wars. But stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. You know what idolatry is? It's when you set up a little idol to Baal, or let's talk Buddha. You light the little candles and you go into the little shop. Look at my Buddha. Look, oh. Yeah, they're idolaters. Okay? So God's saying, when you don't do anything, okay? When you're doing nothing, you're the quagmire. Yeah? That is idolatry. You either be hot or cold, or God will spew you out. Which goes back to my initial statement. Thus, man's interaction with God always engenders action from man. Will you go to Mass? Will you receive the sacrament of the Eucharist in a pure and a holy state? Or is there a little bit of sin held down? It wasn't that big of a deal. I'll go to confession for it next time. Yeah? Or with your family. Or in any areas of your life. Okay? Because remember, it's all about God dealing with our hearts. Yeah? It's allowing God the free reign. Yeah? It's the transforming from that which is normal in Catholicism nowadays to the radical. So that we can affect profoundly the world around us. Okay. Let's go to Mark 8:34. On the topic of discipline. Okay. Whatsoever therefore shall be assumed of me and my words in this adulterous... Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father and with the holy angels. Okay, it's easy for me to come here tonight and talk this way. Yeah, it's easy for me to show up, wear my little suit, bring my little prepared thing, and talk. Where the rubber hits the road is at 2 a.m. at night at my house when I'm all alone. What am I thinking about? What am I going to look at on the internet? Okay. When I'm around people that I work for that aren't Christians, and they don't show up at this group, and they don't go to Mass, what am I talking about? Are the words that I would say around y'all, and the thoughts that I would have around y'all, are they the same as that I have around everybody? Or do I have deceitfulness in me? Do I harbor rebellion somewhere? Do I talk about things that aren't really appropriate with certain people, but then with other people I put on the suit and the tie? That's reality. Every single person in this room. If you want to be a disciple of Christ and you want to be disciplined, there has to be congruency. How you act in there when you're in Mass has to be the way you act at all other times. If it's not, there's hypocrisy in your life. Now, let's get on to actions here, okay? So, it's easy and wonderful for me to come in here and talk about God the Father. It's even better when I talk to heathens about God the Father. It's even better still when the heathens are like, oh, that's a crazy man. He's lost in religion. Praise God. Now, what does the Council of Trent have to say? Okay, and we're talking about discipline. We're talking about discipleship. We're talking about being radicalized in this world. Okay. Nevertheless, let those who think themselves to stand take heed lest they fall, and with fear and trembling work out their salvation in labors, in watchings, in alms deed, in prayer and oblation, in fasting and chastity, for knowing that they are born again unto a hope of glory, but not as yet unto glory. They ought to fear for the combat which yet remains with the flesh, with the world, with the devil, wherein they cannot be victorious unless they be with God's grace obedient to the apostolate, who says, we are debtors, not to the flesh, to live according to the flesh. For if you live according to the flesh, ye shall die. But if by the Spirit you mortify the deeds of the flesh, ye shall live. Now, it was easy for me to use this and then to pounce. Okay? I am attacking everything that takes us away from being radicalized. Okay? I am attacking everything that prevents us from being disciplined. Okay? And it's very easy, right? The first thing he's talking to is let those who think themselves to stand take heed lest they fall. Every single one of us in this room believes, that's why we're here tonight, that we're trying to make heaven, we're going to make it. That verse is only to us. To the heathen outside, that verse isn't to them. But how much more do we know? Therefore, how much more are we required to fulfill in our own Christian walks? The heathen down the street that never had a father, never had a mother, and is addicted to drugs, how much is she going to be responsible for? Very little. But me? Oh, a lot. Now let's go on a little further. And with fear and trembling. Wow. I'm thinking of David. I'm thinking of David saying to God with fear and trembling in his heart, oh God, if I can only get to heaven, I'll be happy to be a doorman. Here's the king of Israel, the person who attacked Goliath and killed him, begging just to get into heaven so he can be a doorman. Fear and trembling. When we go and we're on our knees preparing to receive the Eucharist, it should almost bring us to tears that the glory and the grace of the Lord Jesus Christ did for us to redeem us. If it's not bringing you to tears, why? In other words, if you don't have the feeling that this stuff is really important, it's because what? The flesh, the world, the devil. Somewhere in there, you've allowed a floodgate in your life to be down, and things are affecting you. For me, I don't watch TV. And when I say I don't watch TV, I'm talking about regular TV. Do I watch YouTube stuff? Yes. Generally, if it's in black and white, maybe a Western, okay? But I'm very, very careful what I let go through my eye gate into my mind. Because that which I'm perceiving and seeing, I'll end up emulating it. And what am I supposed to be desiring and emulating? Christ. And is this making me become more like the Lord Jesus Christ and follow in His footsteps? Or is it making me think more about the world and worldly things? And oh man, Paladin, he shot that dude. That's right. No. Okay. Now, we went through the Council of Trent, and they come to the bottom. It talks, for you live after the flesh, you shall die. Wow. So, the flesh is a big thing. The flesh is a big part of this. Okay? We have natural desires in our flesh, like to procreate, like to eat. There's many other desires we have, but these two I'm going to focus on. Okay? How do we battle against these things? Well, one is chastity, to be chaste. And how do we battle against food? Fasting. You know, of everything that I've done in my life, of going through a RIP, of being blown up in Iraq, of having to prepare, the hardest thing I've ever done is fast. Oh man, it blows away everything else. If I'd have known that fasting 3 days was as hard as quitting cigarettes, I would have easily quit cigarettes a long time ago. Yeah? It took me until 2008, and I quit it before I knew fasting, or I could have quit it way before that. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing in your mortifications? You know, I'm going to second mass, that's nothing. That's nothing. That's an easy thing to do. But when you look at my schedule, to me, that's about all I can do right now. To come in here for this talk tonight, it took me 2 weeks. Keeping my heart right with God, because how dare I be a hypocrite, right? It took me a little bit of preparation to see that's how God's using me. and it helps me draw closer to God. And so if it's helping me draw closer to God, hopefully I'm meeting my objective of making heaven, because that's all that matters. Okay? Now,